Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your sources and pull out the really important nuggets of knowledge and insight. Ever felt kind of stuck, maybe overwhelmed by life challenges, looking for a way to get past self-doubt? Well, today we're diving into some excerpts from a book that's touched millions. It's a guide to what the author calls a simple, workable philosophy of living.
That's right. Our sources today are from The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. Now, it's a text that's rooted in his own search for a way of life, definitely grounded in Christian teachings. But it's presented as a very practical, direct action kind of personal improvement manual based on, as he puts it, bona fide demonstrations in actual human experience. So, real world stuff.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that. Our mission for you listening in is to explore how this philosophy claims you can, well, overcome defeat, find peace of mind, maybe improve your health, and even get this never-ceasing flow of energy. And it suggests doing this by changing your mental habits, tapping into what Peale calls God's help or, a higher power.
Mm-hmm.
We'll look at the techniques it offers for managing thoughts, boosting energy, maybe even tackling some really tough problems.
Mm-hmm.
Peale starts with a really powerful claim right off the bat. He says you do not need to be defeated by anything. Your life can actually be full of joy.
Yeah.
It's really about fundamentally shifting your mindset.
And what's foundational there, I think, is this core psychological idea. It's highlighted by something Dr. Carl Menninger, the psychiatrist, said, attitudes are more important than facts.
Okay.
Which sounds simple, but the implication is huge, isn't it? It suggests how you think about a fact, your interpretation, can kind of defeat you before you even start doing anything.
Yeah, that framing matters more than the thing itself.
Exactly. Your mental frame is maybe your most potent tool.
I found this next bit really compelling. It grounds that idea in a real-life story. Peale talks about this traveling salesman. He used to be just full of insecurities, fear, and it was hitting his business, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So his wonderful plan, as Peale calls it, was putting these little cards with Bible verses on his car's dashboard.
Right. Like affirmations, almost.
Exactly. Things like, if ye have faith, nothing shall be impossible unto you.
Yeah.
And if God be for us, who can be against us?
So if we connect that to the bigger picture, Peele's painting,
Yeah.
this method, this conscious effort to fill his mind with positive thoughts, it actually started changing his core thought processes.
Right.
It freed up potential that was blocked by doubt, and the book really emphasizes this. We build our own insecurity or security by how we think. Negative thoughts can potentially create the very thing we're afraid of, which brings up a question for you listening. How can you consciously choose to build security in your own mind?
So if our thoughts really have that much power, how does Peale suggest we translate that into, say, building confidence?
Yeah.
Especially when we feel, inadequate. He gives several rules, but maybe we can highlight a couple that really jump out.
Absolutely. The first one he really stresses is to formulate and hold a mental picture of yourself succeeding. Like, really see it and don't let it fade. That's visualization, right? A technique lots of people use now.
Yeah, you hear about that in sports, business.
For sure. And second, he says, whenever a negative thought about your own abilities pops up, you should deliberately, consciously voice a positive thought to cancel it out. It's like mental judo or something.
Mental judo, I like that. It's active. This idea of thought conditioning as a systematic process. There's another powerful example in the book, too, about a man who lost everything.
Oh, yeah.
Initially just devastated.
Right.
But instead of dwelling on the losses, he made a list of his assets.
The things he still had.
Exactly. His wife, kids, his education, living in the U.S., his faith. By focusing on those, he totally shifted his viewpoint, his mental attitude. And Peale says with that shift, he found more than enough power to start over again.
It's a powerful illustration of that attitude shift.
Then the book gets into energy. How can we have constant energy? Peale asserts that how we think we feel directly impacts our physical state.
Mm-hmm.
And he presents religion, in this context anyway, as a kind of system of thought discipline that can boost energy by supplying these attitudes of faith.
And this brings up a really crucial point. How exactly can our thoughts regulate our emotions and then, by extension, our physical condition? Peale tells the story of Frank Hiller, a baseball pitcher. Apparently, he renewed his strength just by repeating a verse from Isaiah. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength, and so on.
They shall mount up with wings as eagles.
Yeah.
Right.
And Peale's interpretation is that simply passing a powerful energy-producing thought through the mind can lead to actual physical renewal.
He suggests God is the ultimate source of all energy, and connecting with God through prayer or faith, establishes this flow of energy that renews the personality. Uses that analogy of an electric clock, right?
Yeah, it runs as long as it's plugged in. Unplug it, it starts. The plug represents contact with divine energy.
Simple, but effective analogy.
What's also really insightful here is this idea of energy leaks.
Aye.
The book emphasizes it's often not the hard work itself that drains us, it's the emotional stuff. Worry, stress, unresolved conflict.
Right. The internal churn.
Exactly. He points to someone like Thomas Edison. Apparently, his wife called him nature's man because he drew so much energy from, well, emotional self-mastery. He could relax completely, sleep soundly, wake up refreshed. He seemed to have mastered avoiding those internal drains.
So to avoid being, as Peale puts it, torn apart by modern life's pace, he suggests getting into God's tempo.
Meaning?
Deliberately slowing down.
Oh, quieting down.
Practicing peacefulness.
And there's that quirky anecdote to illustrate this. The physician who prescribed a stressed businessman.
Oh yeah, the cemetery visits.
Right. 2 hours off every workday for a long walk and then half a day every week just in a cemetery.
It sounds morbid, but
Yeah.
the purpose was.
Perspective, to meditate on the fact that, hey, the world's going to keep spinning long after you're gone. It helps deflate that feeling that everything rests on your shoulders.
Definitely reduces the self-importance, huh? It really shows how perspective shifts can impact stress.
Hugely.
A half day in a cemetery.
Yeah.
That's certainly unconventional, but it makes the point. Peale shares his own experience, too. He was caught in this mad rush before dinner, and he deliberately stopped himself, went back to his room, took off his shoes, put his feet up, and just slowly read Psalm 121, affirming, God is here and his peace is touching me. And he said this simple act gave him a glorious feeling of having overcome something.
That pause, a deliberate shift.
Yeah. So beyond general well-being, the book talks about prayer as a really practical tool for solving personal problems. He calls it the greatest power available to the individual.
Which raises a fascinating question he tackles. How can prayer be seen as, quote, a scientific procedure for the release of spiritual energy? He introduces this 3-point formula for what he calls creative prayer. First, prayerize.
Prayerize.
Yeah, basically talk about your problem as simply directly with God, like a partner, even while you're doing everyday things. Second, picturize. Create a clear mental image of the desired outcome. Hold it firmly in your mind.
Like visualization again.
Exactly. And third, actualize. This is when the prayerized and picturized wish actually happens, helped by God's power and your own diligent effort.
Okay, prayerize, picturize, actualize. He backs this up with stories, right?
Oh, yeah. There's a compelling one about a woman whose husband wanted a divorce.
Right. Instead of reacting, hysterically.
She calmly suggested waiting 90 days. And during that time, she spent her nights picturizing him back home, back in his chair, doing things they used to enjoy together.
And after 90 days.
He apparently just dismissed the whole divorce idea, said something like, "Don't be silly, I couldn't possibly get along without you."
Wow. Whether you attribute it to the picturing or something else, the outcome described is remarkable.
It is. And Peale also highlights prayer as a way to get creative ideas. He describes this group of executives who'd start their brainstorming sessions with 10 minutes of silent prayer.
Really?
Yeah, affirming that God was about to release proper ideas. And they found it significantly boosted the number of good ideas they generated.
That's interesting. Using prayer as a tool for, mental clarity or inspiration.
Yeah.
I'm also struck by this idea he presents that prayer can act as a kind of sending and receiving station between people.
Yeah, that's a fascinating concept.
He tells a story about praying for some guy in the audience who was scowling at him. And later the guy apparently came up and said he'd felt this sudden shift from really disliking Peale to suddenly liking him. And there's another powerful one where Peale gets this strong feeling his alcoholic friend is in trouble. He prays intensely. Now, it turns out this coincided exactly with his friend hitting rock bottom, struggling, and praying himself. Peale suggests their prayers completed a kind of circuit, giving the friend strength.
It's a profound idea, that connection. Peale also gives very practical steps for tackling worry. He frames it as fundamentally a bad mental habit you can break.
Okay, how?
Well, a key idea is to practice faith, which he sees as the direct opposite of worry. He encourages things like saturating your mind with positive verses from the Bible, memorizing them. And maybe most interestingly, he suggests cultivating friendships with hopeful, positive people.
Ah, the company you keep.
Exactly, because your environment really does shape your thoughts, doesn't it?
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a great distillation. And speaking of practical techniques, there's that memorable ritual, the businessman with the calendar.
Oh, the worry-breaking ritual. Yeah, every night he'd tear off that day's page from his desk
All
calendar,
right, roll it into a ball.
drop it in the wastebasket, and say a little prayer. Lord, the day is over, and I'm through with it, so I'm giving it back to you. Amen.
Such a simple, symbolic act of letting go,
Yeah.
of releasing the day's anxieties.
Very concrete.
So we've talked belief, prayer. What about just expecting the best? The power of expectation itself. Peale quotes the Bible verse, "If thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believe it." He really hammers this point. Expect the worst, you tend to get the worst. Expect the best.
You attract the best. Yeah, and he brings in William James, the psychologist, again here. James said something like, our belief at the beginning of a doubtful undertaking is the one thing that ensures the successful outcome.
So your initial belief sets the trajectory.
Peale expands on that, suggesting expecting the best releases this kind of magnetic force pulling positive outcomes toward you, while expecting the worst creates a power of repulsion. It's about your internal state creating your external reality.
That reminds me of the story about Josh O'Reilly, the baseball manager.
Yeah.
His team was in a massive slump.
Right, the blessed bats.
Exactly. He told them a preacher had blessed their bats. Of course, the bats were the same.
But the players' minds changed. Their mental patterns shifted from doubt, maybe fear, to expectation, and bang, they started winning. Won the championship, apparently.
It really shows that sometimes the biggest block isn't out there, it's in here.
Inside our heads. And that brings up another important question Peale tackles. How specific should your faith, your expectation be?
Does he say be general or specific?
He leans heavily towards being specific. He cites another Bible verse, "Whosoever shall say unto this mountain, be thou removed." The emphasis is on this mountain.
So tackle specific problems one by one, not just the whole overwhelming mountain range of all your difficulties.
Precisely. Don't get overwhelmed by the big picture. Focus your faith on the specific issue at hand. There's even a kind of funny story about a refrigerator plant manager who prayed specifically about his hurting toe.
His toe.
Yeah, asking for it to be fixed up as soon as possible. He saw it almost like a faulty product that God, the manufacturer, could fix.
Okay, specific indeed. The overall message seems to be don't hold back, don't be a holdout, as Peale says.
Yeah, whatever you are doing, give it all you've got. And he circles back to William James again, crediting him with this core idea. Human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind.
That's really the central theme running through everything, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And Peale connects this timeless principle directly to the Bible, calling it the most up-to-date thing because its core truths don't age. He mentions seeing a top executive with this ultra-modern desk, but right there on it, a battered old copy of the Bible.
A symbol that ancient wisdom still applies.
Exactly. It points to this profound idea that Peale keeps coming back to. An inflow of new thoughts can remake you regardless of every difficulty you may now face. It's about constantly cultivating that new mental landscape.
Now, the book also touches on faith and healing, introducing a concept Peale calls psychosomatic medicine. But it's important to clarify, right? This isn't quite the standard medical definition.
Right. Medically, psychosomatic means how the mind influences physical health. Peale uses the term differently. For him, it's more like a spiritual remedy. Medicine compounded of prayer, faith, and dynamic spiritual thinking, aimed at healing both mind and body.
So how does he see this spiritual practice connecting to physical health?
Well, he points to estimates that maybe 50 to 75% of people seeking medical help are ill primarily due to improper mental states, things like worry, fear, resentment. He even draws connections between words, like how holiness relates to wholeness and meditation sounds like medication, suggesting a deep link.
Okay. And does he provide examples?
Oh, absolutely. There's a striking account of a man with osteoma of the jaw, a bone tumor described as practically incurable.
Wow.
This man started reading the Bible intensely, experienced this feeling of warmth and happiness, and over time, his symptoms completely disappeared. Doctors apparently couldn't explain it. Peale calls this the skillful work of the physician plus, that plus being the faith that heals.
So faith is an active ingredient in healing.
That's how he presents it. There are other examples, too. An author named Harold Sherman cured of a throat fungus after releasing intense hatred he'd been holding on to.
The emotional link again.
Yeah. A physician recounting how her sister's severe intestinal obstruction cleared up within minutes after the physician drove around praying for her. And another businessman, recovering from heart trouble, who used a specific 3-point spiritual formula daily.
What was that?
It involved verses for relaxation, be still and know that I am God; for courage, wait on the Lord, be of good courage; and for strength, I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me. These stories, as Peale tells them, are meant to illustrate this profound potential connection between faith and physical well-being.
We've definitely covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. Changing mental habits, building confidence, finding energy, using prayer for problems, expecting the best, and this connection between faith and healing.
Yeah, and the thread weaving through all these examples from Peele's book is really his core assertion. If you actively cultivate faith and truly expect the best, you can activate these deep powers within yourself. Powers potentially aided, he argues, by a higher power, leading to sometimes astonishing results. It boils down to consciously choosing to fill your mind with positive, truth-laden thoughts as he sees them.
So thinking about practical takeaways,
Yeah.
what does this all mean for your daily life, for you listening? Peale himself makes a direct appeal at the end of his book. He says essentially reading isn't enough.
Right. He says, now please go back and persistently practice each technique given. Keep at it until you obtain the desired results. It's a call to action.
Practice, not just read.
Exactly. Which leads to maybe a final thought, a question for you to ponder. If, as Peale states, the secret of a better and more successful life is to cast out those old, dead, unhealthy thoughts and substitute for them new, vital, dynamic faith thoughts, what's maybe one old, dead thought you could choose to consciously replace with a new, vital one starting this week?
That's a great question to leave things on. This has been a really illuminating deep dive into the power of positive thinking based on Peale's work. We hope you found some insights that might help you on your own journey. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.